excited to be here and have this conversation. We are the Legacy Ladies. I am John Treese Wells.
And I am Erica Fernandez.
We're Beyond Legacy, where it is our goal, our vision, our mission to empower, to educate, to inspire, to build community around having this conversations around legacy and the impact that never dies.
Yes, that is what we do. And what we really want to, talk about today is really about relationships and how that really affects legacy. You are a living legacy. She said right here that you're an impact that never dies. So what legacy do you want to leave as far as relationship is concerned? And then you are a living legacy. So you're doing it right now, being a relationship person or being relational, actually, as we live life. And so that carries on into our legacy and how we are remembered. And so what we brought for you today is an exciting guest. Her name is Sharon Gilmore. So sit down, take a seat, put the seatbelt on and buckle in, because we're getting ready to go into this topic of relationships. So I'm going to give it over to you, Sharon. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Sharon Gilmore. I am a relationship and marriage coach. I've been doing it for over 15 years.
Wow.
I have been married for 18 years. And so I've been in relationship for 47 years. Okay. So I got a little bit of experience in this game. And so for me, my lived experience supersedes my educational background. Although I do have 3 degrees, I am an author, but the relationships that I cultivate are my most important thing. And so that is where I teach from, that is where I speak from, and that is where I take my experience to help other individuals overcome complex relationship issues. And we all know we got them. If you are living, if you are alive, if you got a heartbeat, you have relationship challenges. And so it's not about if you have them, it's about how do you handle them. And so that's my sweet spot. And that's what I love to do. And I get to do it quite often. So I'm very grateful.
No, that is amazing. And I love how you started with your experiences, right? So tell me or tell us, because this is just a conversation. We having our just regular girl talk,
Absolutely.
Right? So like, why is relationships so important to legacy? And because when we talk about legacy, a lot of people have monetary, ideas about legacy, or maybe leaving physical things or things like that, but there's a relationship correlation to legacy as well. So how do they relate?
Well, it is all relationship. And when you look up the definition of legacy, it is to pass something on. Okay, you can't pass something on to no one. So you have to be in relationship with someone to be able to take what you have and impart it into them.
Yes.
And so you can't have legacy outside of relationship.
So what's the importance of why we have or why good relationships, right? Because like you said, we all have relationships of passing on to something, right? So what's the importance of having solid foundational relationships?
Absolutely. It enriches your life. So if you talk to, we're seeing this single world going on, right? And everybody wants somebody to be theirs. They want someone to know them like no one else. They want someone. Sis, I'm talking to you. I know I am. But listen, and I'm talking to you. And I'm going to tell you, we're also talking to 1.8 million other individuals who wants to be in personal intimacy with another individual. But I'll take it a step further. The reason we have that desire is because it was created in us from God, who desired relationship and created us. And so when you understand what you were created for and what you were created from, then you would understand why you have this burning desire inside of you to have relationship.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So let's talk about the primary, right? What's the primary relationship that leads to all other relationships?
One with our Father.
We got it. We have to acknowledge that, because that is where we find our identity. That is where we find our purpose. That is how we know how to relate to others. He's given us the instructions of how to love someone, how to be in relationship, and how to pass it on.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a rich subject. It's such a tender subject. It has so many legs to it in talking about it. Yet people don't want to actually, come to the conclusion or actually confront relationship issues. They want to be like, no, we are good. Or, they want to deal with the negative of it always. Like, I ain't going to worry about that. I'm not going to deal with them. When I'm gone, I'm gone. But legacy lives on whether it's good or whether it's bad. You still leave a legacy within someone in both of those environments. Let's talk about that.
I think that's a great point. They either have a great experience of you or they have a horrible experience of you.
Yes.
Either way, that experience leads on. It is what your name is. It is how people relate to you. It's so we get on the front end of it, right? And take control of the situation.
Right.
And we get to decide how people interact with us. We get to decide the experience that people have. A lot of times I ask wives when they sit before me, or husbands, I say, what does your spouse get when they get you? What do they get?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we find that a lot of women and men are deciding not to marry today. You know why? Because they don't feel they're getting enough value from what's being offered to them. And your legacy is the value that you offer others.
Right. And as I think that's a good thing, but they only get that understanding when they understand what God has done for them and that they're in a relationship with him, because you can't do it without him. And when you leave him out of the picture or out of the equation, it makes it harder for you to actually forgive, heal, right? Move forward, invite in, right? Give up of your own self, your own characteristics, be vulnerable, all of those things in relationship. And it requires all of that. But if you're not laying prostrate before the Lord, you ain't gonna lay prostrate before nobody.
It's interesting because we're in a society that wants to connect, but also doesn't want to connect.
We're so confused.
They want to connect online, but they want to hide behind.
Right.
They want, because at the end of the day, you know you best.
Yes.
Right. At the end of the day, you know the best of you and the worst of you. Right. And so it's really interesting as we are talking about relationship and legacy. I'll give you an example. I just recently, on Mother's Day, I got to speak at a church. And it was so interesting because I knew that I was carrying on the legacy of my mother. I was literally, it was like my mom passed away in 2000. And it was that relationship that inspired me to want to be a better person. When she was no longer here, I knew I need to give her an ROI, a return on investment. I knew I needed to give her, because she had imparted so much in me. She had given me such a legacy. I'm her only daughter. Who is to carry it?
Yeah.
And so it was such an honor on Mother's Day. I am standing on a stage imparting what she gave me. It's important.
Yeah.
Yes, important.
And to that, because when we're talking about the intentionality of God and how and why he created relationships, right? He told Adam, it's not good for man to be alone, so I'm going to bring you a helpmate. That was the I would say the second relationship, because it was his relationship with God that was the first one. But when we talk about the dynamics of family, and sometimes what we take from our family is the negative side of it, and not seeing how God orchestrated, this is I gave you this family to learn how to deal with certain type of personality, certain trauma, certain generational stuff, whatever it is that we have to deal with in order to move on. And so sometimes as people, we decide that I didn't like that part of my family, so I'm not going to move forward in any of it. I don't keep relationships with my family. I don't subscribe to some of the things that they do, the good or the bad, whatever the case may be. So we kind of disassociate ourselves from I don't deal with them over there. I don't talk to them. I don't handle this. I don't go here. I don't go there because of them. And I think there's a right place for that, but there has to be some healing, some truths, some reconciliation, so that the legacy that does get passed down, doesn't become dissension where, now families are not even close anymore. We all move away and we are so far from each other that we're not even close, so that we can build our kids up together and have a strong unit.
Right.
And so one of the things that I talked about at our last vision board experience was my grandmother, who had 21 children.
Yeah.
And who I saw for most of my life. I never had a regular relationship with my grandmother, and it really weighed on me. Like I had friends who went to their grandmother's houses and they had cookies and that wasn't my experience. And so for a long time I was angry about it until she was about 95 years old. My mother had already went to be with the Lord, and she was about 95, and I went to go visit my grandmother because I knew it was the right thing to do. And I sat down and I spoke with her, and she talked to me about losing a baby in the Depression. She talked about being born into slavery. She talked about what it was like to get away from the slave master. And I had another respect for my grandmother. I finally was able to understand her pain. I finally was able to reconcile my past with her. And she died a year later. But I was able to capture that moment where I got to find out about her that I never knew. And it made me understand her pain. It made me understand why she wasn't available to me in the way that I wanted. But it also gave me grace for her.
I think that's the one thing that everybody should take away from this, is extending that level of grace. I mentioned to many of my friends over Mother's Day that there's no book for motherhood. There's nothing you can read and say, yeah, implement this. And there's no guarantee, even if there was a book, that if you implemented that, it was going to work. And so extending grace for parents, through, or any relative, through the lens of saying, you know what, I don't know what your hurts are, but I'm going to learn through this, because that's the other part. You need to learn the person through what they've experienced. And when we're young, we don't get it. But when we get of an age where we really want to be able to ask questions and actually seek to know someone, we got a better understanding. I was a person that grew up with my grandmother, and I can tell you right now, it was one of the pivotal moments when I lost her that it changed my entire life. Changed my life. I work in San Diego sometimes, and one of the manager that I work with has fig trees, and my grandmother used to do fig preserves. So he's like, you can have one. I was like, what? I can get fig tree. So I sent the message to my mother, go find the recipe, because I get to have fig preserves right now. I don't know when the figs is coming, but I want fig preserves. That's one of the things my grandmother used to make, and it doesn't look like mush that you see these cans right now. And I'm like, I just can't wait to get fig preserves. Her last jar I got after she passed away, she passed away in 2000, somewhere around there. And so she's been gone a long time, but that last jar lasted a while. There's nothing left, right? But that's one of the things that grandmothers do. But extending grace, because I'm sure other people had different experiences with her, right? And they didn't get to experience her when they were younger, or they didn't get to grow up with her, even within my own family. So I might have had that experience, but my brother may not have. Right. And they don't have those memories, but those are the things that carry on to the next generation.
It's one of those things that you often say is having those crucial conversations. We don't like, I don't like having conversations sometimes. And I don't even want to put it on nobody. It's me.
Right.
It's me, oh Lord.
It's me, oh Lord. Standing in the need of prayer.
It is nice.
You know, but it's so important because then you do get to learn and understand where that person is. And then it goes back to having that grace and going, okay, you were doing the best with what you had at that time and at that moment. And that's all you could have done. And I can be okay with that.
I can be okay with that. I had two separate experiences. My father made some mistakes and my mom was always consistent. And so there was a grace that I had to have from my father. But I'll tell you something. It's interesting as I've studied psychology and I've had many, many clients and coaching. You know, the individuals that I identify that have the hardest time with extending grace are the ones who typically do things right.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are on the right path. You know, they graduated, they did all the things right. They have a very hard time extending grace. And then you got the individuals like me. I did not do everything right. It may have been 4 or 5 tries to get it right. But I give grace because I need grace. I understand the dependency of grace because of how I've lived my life and some of the choices that I've made in my past. And so it's interesting when I learn the dynamics and the characteristics of my clients. I know which one is giving grace and which one isn't. I know which one with it and which one doesn't. It's the one that literally that want to hold you to a standard that they've held themselves to, but that's not what we should be doing. That does not foster relationship, and it does not foster intimacy or authenticity.
Right. And they don't want to see that. They do that for a reason. Something happened that says, you know what, I'm gonna depend on me. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna get to where I need to go. And they have to see that that is why they can't extend grace, because they probably feel grace wasn't extended to them. So, you know, you got to get it done. And that's not what we want to pass on. We want to learn from that, though, because that is what changes us.
Everything is a lesson. Everything is a classroom, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So speak to the person, and we're going to wrap up here, but Sharon will be at our Legacy Vision Board Experience keynote speaker. So make sure you guys get here. But to speak to the person who has a hard time giving grace, because, and I will go as far to say that sometimes it becomes a perfectionism that they have within themselves that they expect other people to have. But how do you get that person to a place of recognizing the legacy that they're leaving is perfectionism to their whoever they're dealing with, and recognizing that everybody's in a different season?
Awesome. I want to first say, give yourself grace. If you have a hard time extending grace to others, it is because you have a hard time extending grace to yourself. And so I want you to lay those things down. I want you to say, it's okay that you didn't meet the deadline. It's okay that last relationship didn't work. It's okay that you've made some mistakes. It's okay that you've gained some weight. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Give yourself grace. You are wonderfully made. God made you the way that you are. The mistakes that you made, He knew you would make. The that you have, He knew you would have.
Right.
He chose you anyway. And He made you anyway. And so I want you to first give yourself some grace. Understand that those mistakes were your classroom. They were teaching you to be better. You are not delayed. You are right on time. You have not missed anything. Your boundaries have not caused you to be without of the purpose that God has for your life. Right. And so take a deep breath. Exhale grace.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
Yeah.
And once you give yourself grace, it will be so much easier to extend it to others. And
Yeah.
that is my word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we find that, even no matter who you idolize, as far as a hero, as far as somebody historically, Martin Luther King, Kobe Bryant, whomever it is, they actually passed on a legacy that was great, but they also had things that were not so great. And you
Absolutely.
guys have to know that their families are dealing with that dynamic. So at the same time, you're that same hero in your family. You're the same person that's going to leave on something heroic for them, that they're going to say, you know what? My so and so, my aunt, my grandmother, whoever left within me this legacy. And we see it other, well, she didn't do that for me, but she was that good to you, or grandma was good to you, she was not good to me. But there is something she left in you, and we got to peel back the layers and go, you know what? That's what I take from my grandmother. I can say, like I tell my mother, listen, nobody took spring cleaning from you. None of your kids took that. We left that with you. But know that you raised 5 great kids. They aren't homeless. They aren't, uneducated. They aren't on the streets. They aren't on drugs. You instill something in us, and be glad. And my mom's getting ready to be 82. And so there's those things that we have to really look at and go, there are great things that they've done for us. And no matter who it is, even our sisters and brothers, right?
I want to speak to the person who's done all the things wrong.
Right, that one. That's me.
Because I'm you. I am you.
Yeah.
I am you.
It's me, oh Lord.
I made the bad decisions. I went to prison. I had the drug addiction. I ran the streets. I partied. I wasted time. I made bad decisions. But it did not deter the plan that God had for my life. It did not change anything. It did not take me off course. And I was enough then, and I am enough now.
Yes.
You are enough then, and you are enough in your future.
Right.
So don't allow your decisions today or even yesterday to determine where you think you can go. The plans that God has for you are great, and you are enough. You are equipped. You have everything you need. And I just need you to stop, take a deep breath, and make a plan.
Right.
I love that, Sharon. I mean, there's so many ways and so many dynamics to relationships. Your relationship with yourself, what you just spoken to the person that feels like I don't did too much that I can't come back from. We've spoken to the person who felt like they did everything right. Right. We speak to the family dynamics. We speak to friendship dynamics. We speak to intimate relationships and community and all of these things. And so, I mean, legacy is so much broader than the monetary physical things that gets left behind once someone dies, or when someone decides to start something. But it is way more about you and how you present yourself to the world is the real legacy that gets passed down and gets left.
Right. You are that character that you're delivering to everybody else. That characteristic is left wherever you plant your feet, whatever door you walk through, whatever ground you step on. People see you even from a distance. You can be admired or whatever, but know that you are all of that. At the same time, you still are able, like Sharon said, you're enough.
Yeah.
You are enough to leave a legacy in a lot of ways. And yes, monetary does work.
It does.
But it is not the end all to be all. Because when you walk around today, you go, they left not money. That would have been great. But my grandmother left things in me of family.
Yeah.
That I want family around and be around, especially on days like holidays, like Mother's Day. You say just passed, right? I would have just loved all the family just be together. We ain't got to be doing nothing because we'll be sitting around eating, talking, and clowning. And that's just kind of like what we do. And that's a legacy. That's a community of family. We invite friends and stuff. And so we gotta do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was so happy with this Mother's Day because my father was a preacher and my mother was a homemaker, prayer warrior. And here I am on Mother's Day, operating in my father's gifting and anointing and operating in my mother's at the same time. And
Mhm.
I felt when you talk about legacy, when
Mm.
people think of my mom, they immediately say, Sharon, you have taken her and her dreams and the things that she gave you to the next level. And I did not get set back because I had a 5 drug
Yeah.
addiction. I am
Mm.
right on time and I
Mm.
am walking in my gifting and my purpose. And I want to encourage anyone who is looking to find out, why was I created? What is my purpose? Look at the problems that you faced because
Mm.
you were the solution to those problems, and that's why you had to have them.
Mm.
You are
Mhm.
the solution. So when you want to know, why was I created? What is my purpose? Look at the problems that you face. You are the solution to those problems. And all
Yeah.
you got to do is strategize the how you're going to bring your authentic self to that problem and be a solution.
Yes.
Now that's amazing. I love that. Well, Sharon, thank you so
Thank you.
much for having this conversation with us. Like we said, she is one of our keynote speakers at our Legacy Vision Board experience. If you have not been a part of this experience,
Yes.
this is an experience that you don't want to miss, because we bring different aspects to your vision, to your legacy, to the impact that will never die, that you
Yes.
bring to the world, that you bring to your family, that you bring to your community and your friends. So please, please don't forget to go to our website, www.iambeyondlegacy.com, and register. Our next event will be on June 29th here
Yes.
in Temecula,
Yes, it
California.
will.
So you can even fly out if you want
Yes,
to.
fly on out.
You need to fly out.
Right?
This
You
will
need
be an
to fly out.
experience that changes your life for the
Yes.
rest of your life.
Yes.
Right.
Invest in yourself. Come on out. Come
Yes.
meet me. Come meet the ladies. Let's
Yes.
have a doggone good time.
Doggone good
I
time.
love
Yes.
it. Well, thank
Yes.
you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Find us on all of our social medias at
Yes.
Beyond Legacy. And
Yes.
Sharon, you are amazing and awesome. And
Thank
I
you.
love the conversation.
Yes.
I had such a great time. We are family. We've made our own legacy here. And so
Yes.
I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.